bud?
Yep.
Okay. The talk for today is called The Way It Works. It was from an outline submitted by Reverend Valerie Reeves from the Huntington Beach CSL. The way it works. What is it? We don't know what it is. Why would we care how it works? But let's see if Dr. Holmes can give us a clue what it is. In The Science of Mind, he says, the life which we live is universal life, expressing through us, else how could we live? Our thought and emotion is the use we make, consciously or unconsciously, of this original creative thing that is the cause of everything. Well, that clears it all up, right? Simple, original, beautiful English. So from that, the one thing I can take out of that is it is the original creative thing. That it is the cause of everything. It's clear as mud. Well, maybe. We'll let Dr. Holmes give us another shot at defining this. Also from Science of Mind. We are thinking, willing, knowing, conscious centers of life. We are surrounded by, immersed in, and there's a flowing through us, a creative something. Call it what you will. The sum total of all our thought, will, purpose, and belief creates a tendency in this law that causes it to react to us according to the sum total of that belief. Well, that clears it right up. Again, we'll come back to that in a minute. In Dr. Holmes' radio and television show, back when television shows were in black and white, I might add, he had a show called This Thing Called Life. And he began each and every broadcast with this statement. There is a power for good in the universe, greater than you are, and you can use it. There's a power in the universe, greater than you are. Power for good, and you can use it. Now, I'll give you some more clues about that. I'll give you the A, B, C, D. I like lists. A, it's automatic. It automatically works, whether you know it or not. B, it's bureaucratic. It always works the same way and for everyone. It follows the rules. C, it's definitely charismatic. The more energy you put into it, the more effective it is. D, it's dogmatic. Dogmatic? Well, I don't know. I was on a roll with this, though. I thought, dogmatic. Plus, every time I say dog, Sharon smiles. Instead of dogmatic, let's use a different word. Democratic. Because, like democracy, you only get what you want when you vote. You have to use it. So that's A, B, C, D. When I was teaching Sunday school at the CSL in Vegas, 5th and 6th graders, they gave me a lesson plan, and it was all shaped around this quote. The gardener goes forth in faith to sow his seeds. He has learned that as he sows, so shall he reap, that the law works the same for all alike. Now there's a little bit of a problem teaching that to 5th and 6th graders. First off, they don't know what it means to sow. They don't know what it means to reap. But that's the kind of lesson plan that we get from the mothership. It's filled with vernacular. And I'm pledging today to try and eliminate some of the vernacular, to speak in plain, common English, unlike all the stuff we've covered so far. But it's good if you can wade through it. So, I want to use a quote from the master teacher, Jesus. Jesus told a story in a parable, and he was great with parables. He never would speak out perfectly, but he told a parable about a sower who scattered seeds on 4 different types of soil. The first type of ground was hard, and the seed couldn't sprout or grow at all, and the wild birds came and harvested all the seed. The second type of ground was stony. The seed was able to germinate, and it began to grow. However, it couldn't grow deep roots, and it withered in the sun. The third type of ground was thorny, and while the seed could germinate, it could grow, it couldn't compete with the thorns. And the thorns overtook it, and it died. The fourth ground was good soil that allowed the seed to germinate, grow strong roots. It got sunlight, it got water, it got what it needed to survive. Now, that's one of the most commonly used parables in the Christian Bible, but they miss the point of the teaching, to me. He taught Jesus, we recognize Jesus as a great master teacher, and we say, Jesus was not the great exception. Jesus was the great example. That's how we look at it. So, just kind of allow that to come. We plant seeds. And in our teaching symbol over there, the top level is soul, is spirit. And we can use this in the teaching. This is how we do it. The V that goes down through is we plant a seed in the second level, which is soul. It's the medium, the consciousness that must respond to our thoughts. And our thoughts must be followed by belief, conviction. If we don't have a belief that what we're planting will germinate, will grow, it's like planting the seeds on the rocks. And when we lose faith that what we've planted in our conviction, it's like the thorns take over. The thorns grow up in our belief, and they overcome our thoughts. It's when we follow our beliefs, our thoughts, they're consistent, they're strong, we do it with energy, that we're planting it in good soil. And that's when we get the third level, which is effect. And that's the law of cause and effect. We are the cause, but it follows the universal law. When we know that, when we believe in that, we can apply it. I have a whole bunch of stuff here on that, but I'm going to skip it. Dr. Holmes tells us when we are thinking, willing, knowing, conscious centers of light, we are surrounded by, immersed in, and there's a flowing through us, a creative something. Call it what you will. The sum total of all our thought, will, purpose, and belief creates a tendency in this law that causes it to react to according to the sum total of that belief. Now that's the same quote I gave you just a few minutes ago, but I want to dissect it. I want to look at it in detail. First sentence, we are thinking, willing, knowing, conscious centers of light. Life. Freudian slip. As spiritual beings, having an incarnate experience, we have free will to utilize or ignore all our spiritual aspects. We are one with the conscious creator of life. How we use it, whether we use it, is completely up to us. That's who we are. Many, many people use it consciously. Many, many more ignore the possibility, the reality. Second line, we are surrounded by, immersed in, and there's a flowing through us, a creative something. Call it what you will. As one with this creative, expanding consciousness that constantly flows through us, as us, whether we call it prana, chi, the force, or even the matrix, it's in us all, at all times. It is who we are. It's our connection to the divine. Third sentence. The sum total of all our thought, will, purpose, and belief creates a tendency in this law that causes it to react to us according to the sum total of that belief. Now, I particularly love that sentence and that quote. That's, to me, what captured my attention and why I'm sharing it with you today. It reminds us that the universe responds to us, to everything we think and we believe. Yet, it takes all our thoughts, all our feelings, all our emotions, blends it together to give us tendencies of what we think and believe. It's what we focus on the most becomes more of the protein shake that we're blending together. And the universe gives us more of what we focus on the most. Now, last week I mentioned a comment, or I mentioned something from Abraham, that if you think you want blue, and then you think you want yellow, the universe will give you green. That's what you get. Because it blends all of it together and gives you tendencies. That's why when we have a random stray thought, possibly wishing a negative impact on someone, release it, let it go, don't worry about it. First off, you don't have free will that's going to harm anyone, but it's the tendency, this composite of your beliefs, your thoughts. That's what will manifest. Now, in Charles Fillmore from the Unity side, he wrote a book called Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, and I looked it up in there on spiritual thought. Every spiritual thought is a seed sown to the spirit. Spiritual thoughts feed and nourish and build up the spiritual man. The result is life and immortality to the whole man or woman, spirit, soul, and body. So that's Dr. Fillmore, who was a contemporary of Ernest Holmes. He also said, every thought is a seed and brings forth after its kind. What you plant always comes back to you. Now, I found a quote by Majaya Sati Bhagavati, common name, I'm sure you know. Majaya Sati Bhagavati. And she wrote a book called The 11 Karmic Spaces, Choosing Freedom from the Patterns that Bind You. And if anybody wants references, just let me know afterwards, I'll give it to you. And she said, when you plant a seed of love It is you that blossoms. So there's a whole lot about planting seeds here today. Be careful what you plant. But when you plant a seed of love, you become the blossom. I love that quote. As soon as I saw that, I knew I would be using that one today. Now, we all have some sort of storyline in our past when something that we interpreted as bad happens. And we say, I just knew that was going to happen. Right? No? Advanced teachers. But we know people. Okay, we know people that have had those experiences. And they go, I knew that was going to happen. For me, it's typically my team loses something. I just knew that was going to happen. How often do you hear that? Hopefully, you don't say that as often as you once did. But if it works for the negative, it must also work for the positive. My suggestion is first, notice when something good happens. Recognize, oh yeah, that's good. Edmund said to me today is his reward for something. He recognized this was a good experience. Right, Edmund?
Right.
But you have to recognize it. Then you can appreciate it. Then you can say, I knew that was going to happen. And that attracts more and more. But that mere recognition always plays a powerful role in attracting even more good or bad. If you recognize it as negative and go, I always get that. Well, you're right, you do. The universe has a great answer to I always. Yes, you do. If that's what you believe, I always. Yes, you do. But you get to control that. We get out, or we get what we put out there in life. Words, our words, are like boomerangs. They come back to you. They make a big loop. They circle. You get what you throw out, just like planting seeds. Now, while we're on boomerangs, because I don't get to talk about boomerangs often enough, just think about that word, boomerang. That's a fun word to say. Here's from Vera Nazarian in the Perpetual Cloud or Calendar, that's not a Freudian slip, the Perpetual Calendar of Inspiration. A boomerang returns back to the person who throws it. But first, while moving in a circle, it hits its target. So does gossip. It always returns back. And it hits its target, the person who threw it out. So be careful with your thoughts, with your words. They matter. They can hurt others if they so choose to be hurt. That's a whole separate talk. How we respond is up to us, right? Yeah. In the outline that Reverend Reeves submitted, she had a little personal story that I want to share with you. She had two older sisters, and they went to see a new movie when it first came out called Grease. Now, I saw Grease, but I don't remember a whole lot about it, other than there were car races and leather jackets, a lot of singing and dancing and stuff. But when she went to see Grease, there was one line in particular that just set off her funny bone. And she kept singing it over and over and over. And it became an earworm for her and her sisters, over and over and over. And the silly line was this, and I'm trusting her because I don't remember it, but you can go back and research. I lost my diamond in the macaroni salad. That's not a line I remember. Of all the songs in Greece, it just doesn't come up for me. And I thought, well, I should go look at Greece and verify this, but I'll trust Reverend Reeves. So there's more to the story. 15 years later, she was a manager at a restaurant. And she was newly engaged. Her boyfriend and her had picked out a ring, but it was quite expensive, so he put it on layaway. And for her birthday, he got it. He gave it to her. And she wore it to the restaurant. She was showing everybody her ring and quite happy. And things got busy at the restaurant. She was running ragged and didn't think another thing about it that afternoon. That evening, she went home that night and wanted to take her ring off, and it was gone. She was panicked. She wanted to go back and open the restaurant and try to find it, and her boyfriend said, look, no one's in there. If it's there, it'll be there in the morning. So she called her sister and in tears, I lost my ring. Where do you think she found the ring the next day?
In the macaroni salad.
In the macaroni salad. Absolutely. When she prepared the macaroni salad, 15 years. That was a big loop. Her sisters thought it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard in their lives. I lost my diamond in the macaroni salad. 15 years it took. But your words come back to you. Remember, we look at time, it's this linear, not so much. The power of our words are like a universal boomerang. Our words go out, and they come back. We may not know when, but they will come back to us. Watch your words, baby. And here's another more personal story. And it's about the power of our words and our affirmations. My beloved sister, 2.5 years younger than me, does not get speeding tickets. It's her affirmation. She knows she speeds, but she affirms, I never get tickets. I drive safely in peace. And she has been exposed to this teaching, just to give you some background. So she was dating a guy that always complained about getting tickets. And the two of them decided to set off on a trip from Maine back to Pennsylvania, where we're from. They were going to go see family. So they decided to take his pickup truck because it had a bench seat in the back, and they could take turns sleeping back there. So they were on their way, and that's a long drive from Maine to central Pennsylvania. Driving through New York, just a few hours from home, the sister was driving while her boyfriend was sleeping in the back. And she knew she was going a little fast when the flashing blue lights and the siren came on. And the sound of the siren woke up the boyfriend, who said, oh, I always get tickets, but now you're going to get a ticket. And my sister said, I never get tickets. I don't get tickets. So the officer came up to the window and she explained to him she was getting closer to home. And she just got excited. And she let the speed get away from her. She promised she wouldn't speed anymore. She'd use cruise control and not speed. And the officer said, Okay, I completely understand. I'm not going to give you a ticket. And then he leaned in the window and he said, but I'm going to give him a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. Watch your words.
Wow.
What do you affirm? It sounds funny, but it's true. Watch your words. Watch your thoughts. For they are creative. The universe is expanding. Our consciousness is expanding. We are one with the creative source of all of it. We are expanding. We are creating. We have this power. We are one with the power for good. We need to learn how to use it. In Dr. Holmes' How to Use the Science of Mind, which I absolutely find the best book he's written. How to use the science of mind. First off, the science of mind's that thick. How to use the science of mind's only that thick. You can read it in less than a month. It's slow reading. This is from How to Use the Science of Mind. We are at liberty to choose what manner of life we shall live. We should feel that in this choice, we are backed by all the will, all the purpose, and all the law in the universe. Our reliance is on this law and order. It is the creative agency of all life. And at the same time, our use of it is personal and individual. That's pretty plain. I mean, I don't have to interpret that, I don't think. Finally, we have a song at many of the Centers for Spiritual Living. And it's written by Karen Drucker, who wrote and did that first song. And like a lot of her songs, it's kind of a chant. You know, we often, in meditation, we would literally just sing that song for 20 minutes, half an hour, as a chant. But this one, and many of you will know it, is called Our Thoughts Are Prayers. And here's some of the lyrics. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Be aware of what you're saying. Keep a higher consciousness of love and thankfulness, and know that God is always here, and every thought becomes a prayer. I so admire Karen Drucker. She performs at Unities and Centers for Spiritual Living around the country. I don't know if she travels internationally. But if you ever have an opportunity to see Karen Drucker, it's more than a song fest. She talks about these things. She's quite a minister, but quite a teacher who just is able to write, to sing, to bring love and light to a room. I had the opportunity once to meet her. It's pretty exciting. But she tells a story. You know where she got inspired to perform? Sitting front row live at the Carol Burnett show every week. And she thought she was a child, 12, 14, 15, 16. And it got to the point where Carol Burnett would recognize her and talk to her, you know, before, after, during things. And she said to Karen Drucker one day, well, why are you here all the time? And she said, because I'm going to be like you. I'm going to perform. I'm going to sing. And Carol Burnett brought her up on stage and let her sing, not as part of the broadcast, but to the live audience. She had that thought. She had that affirmation. She believed that if Carol Burnett could do it, she could do it. Now, Karen Drucker is extremely popular, successful, but she chose a slightly different path than Carol Burnett, who really, she could sing, and she did frequently. A lot of times she yodeled, and she taught Karen Drucker to yodel. But it just goes as an example of somebody within this teaching who had a thought, had a belief, and made it happen. We say treat and move your feet. So, anyway, I hope Karen Drucker's songs resonate with you. That one, our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. I hope that song is alive and well in your hearts. And I'll tell you one more thing. When I was deep in the Amazon jungle doing ayahuasca, there were times when I was doubting my sanity of why I was there. And I would sing these songs to myself. They were inspirational and they helped me control my mind. So it's really personal for me to share Karen Drucker's stuff. And feel free to ask for the lyrics. Look her up. She's on YouTube, all over the place. And for me, it's a classic example of the way it works. And that's what we started out with. So this is the way it works. Namaste.
Namaste.
Now I do have an affirmation, but you don't need to include it or not. I don't care. So I wrote an affirmation. I'm not as quick with these on the spur of the moment as Kate is. So, okay. There is a power for good in the universe, greater than I am. And I am using it for good. I choose my words carefully. I love my life. It is good to be me. And so it is.
And so it is.